Hi all, Luis Miguel Alexa from BRIKbc Projects. This session we're running through some of the problems, one particular problem that we'll focus on in terms of buying property. And that is around the financing capability. We've all been, whatever shape or form, no doubt we've all experienced the difficulties in obtaining finance at some point in our lives when buying property. And that's going to be harder and harder as we move forward, with obviously property prices continue to rise, and banks around the world continue to tighten policy. I know in Australia there has been a tightening, and then it loosened, and it's tightening again. So it's one of those areas that obviously through government and reserve banks try to control different parts of the economy through policy. But what that does, in terms of for people like all of us who are trying to borrow funds to buy property, we do encounter the barriers when it comes to obtaining finance to buy property. Probably just go a little bit deep, not too deep. Just keep these videos as brief as possible, but at the same time informative. Again, comes back to the core why we established BRIKbc projects in terms of tokenizing property, especially focusing around Australian real estate property. Probably some of the things that, again, I've been at the coal front, both as an investor and property buyer, but also as over the years in terms of looking after clients. I've been a CPA in public practice. I've had those experiences where we've been assisting clients and trying to buy property and dealing with the banks directly and the various finances in the mix. And so I have experienced all those barriers that go with obtaining finance. In terms of when someone's trying to buy a property and obtaining finance, two key things that the banks look at is the serviceability. Can that person have the ability to pay that property in terms of the loan repayments? And secondly, the asset backing behind that loan. So where there's one property, is the equity that can be put forward in terms of deposits. If there's other properties involved in the mix, can they be provided as backing around that loan for that particular property? So they're always the two key areas where banks look at. Can the person service a loan, and is there an asset backing behind that loan? Again, when an asset backing, in general speaking, banks always want to have at least 20% equity in that property there. So someone's either come up with a deposit of 20%, or they have to provide security from another property to make up that 20%. So the banks generally lend 80% to buy that property, but you've got to come up with the other 20% either through a cash deposit or using security in another property. So typically, if you're buying a property worth $1 million and the banks will lend you $800,000, but you've got to come up with $200,000 either as cash or as an asset from in relation to another property that provides that security. So again, that's always challenging in terms of, especially with property prices continue to go up, and especially for the younger generation. So that I know my son and daughter who are in their early 20s, they will be challenged. They are challenged. And they're going to continue to be challenged, and no doubt other people like them will continue to be challenged in terms of, one, how can they buy property for themselves to live in, and secondly, how can they buy property for investment? So that's always going to be challenging and continue to be challenging. Length of time is also another major issue. So when someone decides to buy property, the length of time it takes for the banks to approve a loan. As we all know, time is of essence when there's an opportunity, and And when there's a length of time that the banks are taking, continue to take, that opportunity might be lost. So again, it's one of those things that you can do all the things you want, but at the end of the day, are you able to do it quick enough to take advantage of the opportunity? And again, it's the banks might tell you that you're not right, that you haven't got the ability to the capability to borrow the funds now, but if you wait another year or two, you might be able to be in that position to be able to buy it. Again, it's one of those things that that opportunity is right here, right now. Might not be there here in a year's time, 2 years' time, because of the different stages of the economy. So again, these are all things that sort of come back to one of the major barriers around the financing capability of somebody trying to buy a property for themselves to live in, or as investment properties to build up their portfolio, whether it be residential property, whether it be commercial properties, whatever the case may be. Again, we see that as a major problem, and obviously at the core we see BRIK providing a solution in terms of tokenized properties through our BRIKs, series of BRIKs. So again, we see that somebody who's trying to build a portfolio of property and they're finding challenging to buy property directly, we see a BRIK as a way to start accumulating exposure to property and be able to, at any time along the journey, be able to cash in some of their BRIK tokens and be able to then buy direct property if they choose to. But again, as we see that the BRIK's providing a great way for especially someone young or someone who continues to be challenged, or whatever stages of their life they've been challenged, and the banks are finding it hard to actually lend money to somebody, and we see the BRIKs as a great way for somebody to start building a portfolio of property on their journey to accumulate their wealth. So just again, like I said, with the finance serviceability and capabilities is always a major hurdle, and we thought we'll give you some bit of insights from my experiences, both personally and professionally, in terms of this being a major hurdle, and hopefully the BRIKs can provide the BRIK family with solutions in their long journey with us. Take care. Bye-bye.